find the revolution starting inside. An instrumental part of Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Counter economics. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist.
Agorist.
Agorist. Nexus. Agorist.
It's the Agorist Acres podcast. I'm Brandon. Let's go. I've got my great co-host Dag. How you doing, Dag?
I'm going with some afternoon bourbon. How you doing?
Cool, man. I'm going. I'm Brandon. So yeah. We got Mr. Kauffman, the Jeremy Kauffman, on from Odysee.
LBRY.
Yeah. Yep. LBRY.
LRBY. I always get them backwards.
Yeah, the B's first.
Okay.
I always mess that up too. But yeah. So, how you doing, Jeremy?
I am doing great, and I think I caused you guys some confusion because there's news that came out just today regarding LBRY and Odysee, which is something that it started, Odysee.com. It's used by like 50 million people last month. It's become one of the biggest video websites out there for people, especially people who don't like the bad policy, these problems with big tech and YouTube and so on. But as of October 1st, but publicly as of today, Odysee is now a separate company from LBRY. So I used to be the CEO of that company, and I'm no longer the CEO of that company. So that's news that just happened.
Cool. You guys are hearing it here first. So yeah, go into detail why the whatever you want to call it, separation or
Yeah, so the thing is, so LBRY was started and still is as this decentralized, open source, blockchain-based way to publish information. We were trying to create these, we were trying to empower these, whether it's YouTube-like or other types of sharing. It doesn't have to just be videos. We were trying to do this in this decentralized fashion. And we started LBRY more than 4 years ago, actually, I guess more than 5 years ago. And as part of developing LBRY, we eventually decided that, hey, we needed to make it easy to access on the web via domains. And websites can't really be decentralized. It's not really possible, right? So when you interact with the Bitcoin network in a decentralized fashion, you're not going to Coinbase. You're using some client that's on your desktop computer, and you're directly calling to other nodes in the network. And that's how LBRY worked. And there were maybe 100,000, maybe more than that, people using LBRY on a regular basis, but it was clear we needed to make it more accessible. So we launched a web version, which was originally called LBRY.tv. And that evolved into something called Odysee. And we made it Odysee partially because having it named LBRY was kind of confusing as to the fact that it wasn't this decentralized thing. And, Odysee really took off. We launched Odysee about a year ago, and it grew faster than LBRY ever grew. LBRY did have some fast trajectories at times, but Odysee really grew. It grew from nothing to these very large numbers, 40, 50 million visitors last month. And Odysee wants to be able to do more and more things that might not be that wholly decentralized thing. Like Odysee added credit card processing, right? And so we decided to separate them because it will allow each to really be entirely focused on their respective missions. So LBRY still is trying to build the greatest decentralized blockchain-based sort of sharing technology, and lets LBRY focus on being this pure technology. Odysee is now the premier app that's based on LBRY. Same way that like Coinbase is the way that not most, but a lot of people buy Bitcoin. Now, some people, some purists, and I don't know where you guys are at on this, so I'm not trying to slander anyone, but some purists say that Coinbase is bad or something like that. My attitude is like, as long as that pure layer is there, having people come in and use it in a centralized fashion, that's still better. I'd rather have someone own Bitcoin on Coinbase than not own Bitcoin at all, And so it's the same kind of idea here. Odysee is free to just be the best that it can be for what people want, which is a better YouTube. And Odysee still uses LBRY underneath. Users who use Odysee can still graduate or move on to LBRY Desktop or other LBRY products if that's what they want to do. But they're being governed and run as separate companies now.
Cool. And you're still with LBRY, is that correct?
I'm still the CEO of LBRY, and currently Odysee is a wholly owned subsidiary, so we still own all of Odysee, but that may change in the future.
Great. For our viewers that don't know, so Odysee is a platform, basically decentralized crypto video platform, and yeah, it's like the crypto of YouTube, right? And so it's a really great platform. Now, if you could, like, what I mean, I just think that Odysee is so important because, well, you know, LBRY included. I just think that they're so important because we are seeing censorship. We are seeing people getting taken down for misinformation because of XYZ or whatnot, and freedom of speech is important. So, you know, I just think these platforms are super important. Same with Bitcoin. Like you need something that's not going to be censored. That criminals can't just take away from you. What's your like political stance on crypto and this video platform, and why did you choose to start it up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do want to keep I have some strong personal political stances. I want to keep those kind of separate from my company stance because
Sure.
Like the idea of owning your own channel, the idea of a big Silicon Valley tech company being able to take your filing away, being able to take your channel away, the idea of not wanting to build a business on top of quicksand where the rules can change without your permission and all of these things. I don't see these as political preferences. I see these as basically near universal preferences, right? Like most people like the idea of owning a house rather than renting. That doesn't mean some people might not rent for one reason or another, but people like the idea of ownership, this kind of thing. So like LBRY, we don't see LBRY as something that is, particularly in one political bucket. Personally, I'm pretty libertarian. I live in New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. I'm pretty big on freedom of speech, but I don't really see political preferences as like universalizable or like objectively correct. I see them as like personal. So it's my personal preference to want to live that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But my moral beliefs are more like, hey, let's let people live the way that they want to live. Like, I think communists get screwed. I don't think communism would work really. But hey, a lot of people want to believe in it. They should be allowed to go and try their communism. Ideally somewhere far away from me. I don't want to be subjected to it. But I don't, what my biggest belief is that, we are far too, universal in our politics. We want everyone to live a certain way or to be a certain way. And I would rather see more people kind of be able to live in accordance with what they believe. And for me, that's your libertarian, or I find anarcho-capitalism, kind of curious as to whether it would work or not. But certainly I believe in principles of private property and voluntary association and that kind of thing.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Presearch, decentralized search engine, earn crypto as you search, keyword stake.
No spying, no censorship. They just work. They got dark mode. What's not to love?
Yeah, and if you have like an affiliate link like Rabbit Feed or something, you type in, you can have the keyword Rabbit and the keyword Feed, and the keyword Rabbit and Feed, and yeah, if anybody searches that term, the ad will come up, and yeah.
Just one ad, not a lot of clutter. They're not you don't got to scroll down through 17 ads to get to your searches like you do with some of the other big name searches. So yeah, man, it's just really efficient to the point. It's a great system.
Yeah, and it's a good way to have your coins work for you. You're not only just like hodling them in crypto terms, but yeah, you're using them for something too. So
Yeah, you're getting it's not quite like interest payments, but I mean it's holding your advertising. Advertising is expensive. Let it let them sit there and work for you. Why not? Well, that's great. And like with the systems, like with what you're building here with like LBRY and everything, you're just giving people the opportunity to opt out of the regular mainstream nonsense, the super censorship ridden and whatever, and build their own systems. And I mean, that's really what you're doing is hey, here was a problem, that YouTube isn't what we would all like it to be. Right. So let's make a better one. I mean, was that, so you said about 4 years ago. So we all know what YouTube is today and how like terrible it is. Was it that bad 4 years ago that you were like, no, we need something better? Or did you just want to make something better anyhow?
No, it wasn't. I would, if I was a better liar, I'd be like, yeah, I saw it coming. Yep, I knew. But I didn't. I mean, and it's not like there weren't signs. I mean, certainly there was, censorship even back then. But truthfully, the genesis was more as a computer scientist being and someone with these libertarian leanings, being very interested in Bitcoin and what Bitcoin means. But as a computer scientist, I looked at it as a database. It's a database that requires the tokens to be tradable. What I hit on with some inspiration from things I was reading online and other things was this idea of using it to maintain a catalog of digital content. So this idea that we can have this sort of global shared registration system, listing, catalog, whatever you want to call it, of content, and no one's going to own it. And that there was something about that idea that was just kind of beautiful to me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And once I can't stop thinking about something, I end up working on it.
Yeah, I get a little obsessive sometimes as well. I I feel you. Dude, that's great. And you mentioned like storing as a way to like store catalog information. And actually, my first usage of a library was deterrence dispensed, because that's where they stash their files, and I think it's, I think it's brilliant, because it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like on the blockchain, right? Like you can't take it down. Like, am I mistaken? Let's say a government or the government says, no, we don't want these files to exist. Like, what can they do to get these off the internet or keep me from accessing them with LBRY?
Yeah. So it's very difficult to impossible to actually update or scrub the blockchain records themselves. So the catalog entry is going to kind of always be there. What a government could theoretically do is, one, there are laws that can govern what information can be returned. So when you're looking up metadata from the blockchain, unless you have a full local copy, you're relying on other nodes to return that information for you. So the government could say, hey, it's illegal to run software that returns these results. Sort of the same way that it's illegal to return metadata associated with a BitTorrent file, even though it's not the file, right? A BitTorrent file doesn't contain the content. It just contains a pointer to the content. But the current interpretations of the various laws is that even returning the pointer is a violation. So the government could say that, hey, you can't even return this metadata. So this would be like wallet servers and things like this. They can say that, hey, it's illegal for this metadata to be returned. The other thing that they can do is police it similar to BitTorrent. So they can attempt to find the computers that are participating in the network and hosting those files and go after those operators and say, hey, you have to delete those, or you're breaking the law, you have to delete those, you have to remove them from your computer. When you're publishing to LBRY, the files themselves, the content itself is not going into the blockchain, just the metadata. And the LBRY inspiration also came from BitTorrent, where the BitTorrent network works pretty well, but what you don't have is a catalog, right? There's no, the BitTorrent data is decentralized, but there's no coherent listing. There's no place where you can find everything available on the network. And sort of the idea was you could use a blockchain to do that. But in the same way that you can attempt to scrub a torrent from the internet by going after every single computer that hosts part of it, the government could conceivably do the same thing here.
Gotcha. Sounds like a lot of work, and also probably primarily depends on what country you're in. So, if you're in, obviously we can get them here, but it's not illegal here. So you're just saying if a country deems it illegal, there are things they can do at that point to maybe block it.
Right. They can try. I'm not saying it would work.
Computer.
They can try.
Yeah, we're not trying to give any ideas here,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, but also, with the deterrence dispense stuff, this content is legal in the US. I know that there are some places that are attempting to make it illegal. I'm not aware of any that actually have. And truthfully, even if a state does, it almost certainly won't pass First Amendment scrutiny. I mean, we've had enough similar cases where, like plans are generally protected by the First Amendment. So just descriptions of how to build something, which is all these files are, right? It's something that I do. I want to encourage like people to sort of tweak their language, which is like a file is not a gun. It's not, they're not banning, they're not banning 3D firearms, right? They're banning 3D firearms files. They're banning CAD files. They're banning engineering files. They're not banning the guns. Because if they want to ban the guns, they can ban the guns, but that wouldn't ban the files, right? Right. What they're trying to do is ban plans. They're trying to ban descriptions of things, not things themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's a slippery slope, too. If you let them ban files, what other files or information are they going to ban? And banning certain information is kind of like book burning, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We've gone through it before. I mean, there was the wars over crypto in I want to say it was like the 90s, over whether certain cryptographic technology the United States attempted to prescribe the availability of that. And I don't know what the state of like various facts about atomic bombs are, but I believe the government does assert certain national security type exemptions where they do say that certain types of information is illegal. I'm not 100% on this, but I believe that that's true.
We did a story a couple episodes ago where a girl in UK, she was like, I don't know, 16, and she had 3D printed gun plans. And maybe like explosive plans or something too. But at any rate, even the 3D gun plans, like she's like facing like terrorism charges just for possessing, some sort of instructions. Like I've got a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook sitting on my like bookshelf. You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, there's not really anything that exciting in there, but like still, it's just crazy that to think that somebody, is facing relatively serious charges just for information.
Yeah, it is, but it's also not new. The United States, throughout history, even in the U.S., which is really, I would say, quite arguably the best country in the world for free speech. It's the First Amendment of the Constitution. There's a strong legal history, but I mean, throughout, basically almost any time there's a war that happens, we see it going all the way back to like the Alien and Sedition Acts. But it happened again during World War II. I believe it happened around the Civil War. I'm not the greatest at history, but it's something that's happened repeatedly.
Definitely World War I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, DVault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the DVault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a DVault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show.
So we were talking about deterrence defense. So I guess let's just go ahead and do this story since we're on it. You had mentioned before we started, like I said, I had it in my notes. I had seen this on NBlock the other day, and I think you're posting about it today or yesterday. But I don't want to say they're getting in trouble because I don't really know what anybody can do about it. But what is it? Every town for gun safety is attempting to sue the deterrence dispense guys because of some stuff they posted on Odysee.
Yeah, and to be clear, my company is not being targeted by the suit. They're saying that these people, when a company wants to sue someone for doing something and they don't know who that person is, they'll frequently name them. And so some of the people named in the suit are named as just Odysee user X or Y. But we haven't even been contacted by, as far as I know, we haven't been contacted. I'm not running Odysee, so I guess maybe I don't know. But as far as I know, we have not been contacted by the government or even by Everytown. Like, I'm not even aware of there being DMCA's around this. It's kind of a dumb suit. It's just a trademark infringement suit, right? So they're not even getting in trouble for making the 3D firearms files. They're getting in trouble for making 3D firearms files with the Everytown logo
for epic trolling.
yeah, for trolling. I think it's funny. I have such respect for those guys. I mean, they are, as someone who has been known to troll sometimes, I mean, their trolling is just top notch. It's just grade A. It's so good. And as part of their trolling, they started making these firearms files with I don't even know if it's the exact logo, so I don't want to say it's the logo, but basically with markings that label them like some of these groups. And I'm actually not an expert on trademark law, and so I don't know, like, if it was copyright, I would think that it's basically a fair use exemption because they're trying to be comedic, they're not trying to profit, and they're not actually pretending to kind of be someone else. They're not publishing the files and saying, hey, we're Everytown, we made this. So I would think fair use for copyright, but this isn't copyright, this is trademark, and I really don't know trademark that well, and so I don't know if it's a valid suit or not. I know it wouldn't stop them, right? Like, they've got all the money in the world, and these are just some guys doing it for fun. And so I'm sure that Everytown would be happy to sue them, knowing that they're going to lose, just to act like they're doing something and just to cause some pain to these guys. So I don't really know. Some other lawyers seem to think it was a bad case, but I don't know. Do you guys know anything about trademark or?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, I hate IP, but it's no, I don't know anything about like the law or anything in that regard. Have you guys had much? So like, obviously, like, there's a lot of copyright stuff with like YouTube and everything. It's easy to get it. If we were to just have a radio playing in the background of this podcast with a popular song on it, like, that'd get us kicked off of YouTube. If I'm sure we would have already been, I'm sure. But have you guys, and if you don't want to talk about something like this, it's fine. Have you guys had like any issues or something like what could even be done? Like, I mean, if it can't be taken off the blockchain, what could even be done to solve an issue like this?
Well, you do kind of what I said. So DMCAs, we get lots of DMCAs, and we've gotten hundreds of DMCAs. We publish all of them in a GitHub repo, so you can see all of them. In our case, we do something like I described. So when we receive one, we put out a list of content that's been tagged as copyright infringement, and then servers that our company is running don't return that information, and people who are running other servers can also subscribe to those lists and not return that information so that they can operate legally. So if we get a DMCA, you're not going to see it on Odysee because it's a law. We don't do any of that proactive screening type stuff, right? So we're not doing like content ID or anything like that. But if we receive a formal DMCA request, then we do process those, and of course, and abide the law in those areas.
So just in case any of our listeners don't know, just to clarify this for me, so there's LBRY, okay, and let's say if I have this right, that's sort of like the repository or whatever. But then like anybody can make a platform that interacts with LBRY. So like that's what Odysee would be. So like Odysee and LBRY aren't necessarily like the same thing, right? It's just Odysee is interacting with LBRY as like the platform that an end user would use. And so basically anybody could create one and tap into LBRY. Is that correct?
That's correct. Well, what I'd say is I'd say it's somewhat incorrect to say they're the same thing. They're very related. So I'm not really like saying that you're wrong, but they're the same way in that like Coinbase and Bitcoin are the same thing, or Gmail and SMTP are the same thing. Right. So there's something that they're interacting with the protocol. Anyone who's using Odysee is using the protocol, but Odysee is not literally speaking LBRY. It's different. It's a layer on top of it.
Right. So it's just the way that I would interact with the blockchain that, that LBRY like entails.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. Yeah, I know that when like I first like heard about it, there was a little confusion about the difference between the two. And then you learn that, and that makes total sense.
It's
so
complicated.
Yeah.
You're far from the only person. It's a lot. Yeah.
So one of the things I really like about it is so here would be the problem with like so the YouTube model, they do advertising, and that's the way for content creators to make money, because like what I love about YouTube is if I have to fix anything around my house, right, I can look it up and 10 people made a video how to do it, and they have various ways of making some change. So I'm sure that was probably one of the challenges when you were doing. I know you said that the monetization isn't everything. Of course, it's not. But I'm sure that was something that was a consideration at least. Is how can we entice people to want to put content on here if we don't have like an ad platform? Did that have a little bit to do with the crypto, or did you guys have any sort of ad platform in mind?
It did, although Odysee is going to add advertisements, because that's the kind of thing that Odysee can do. Cool. Odysee doesn't really have the same kind of concerns about being this pure decentralized kind of thing. So Odysee is going to go in that direction, and already is. I believe there's some ad tests being run right now.
So then Odysee uses the tokens as well, right? So correct. Could anybody, let's say somebody, like we say, if somebody else wants to make another iteration or something like instead of Odysee, would they also have the ability to use those library tokens as well as anybody who interacts, or is that just a specific thing with Odysee?
They could, yeah, anyone could do that.
Okay, and they can work out like the reward system and all that. Is that built into the library, or is that an Odysee thing?
The reward system actually isn't built. Well, right now it's built into Odysee. The reward system is probably going to change some as a result of some of these corporate changes. But anyone could build that, but they would have to buy the token to administer it. Right. Okay,
gotcha. So yeah, that's something that then they would just administer with their own tokens.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, neat. Yeah, I like the system. It keeps people watching. It gives you a way to tip. The way you can tip content creators and stuff is really great. I really enjoy it.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I wish there was like a donate button instead of like tip. Kind of just like I donate to my waiter instead of tip them. But
is this a terminology request or a functionality?
Terminology, but
okay.
Just
like the word donate better than tip.
Yeah, I always donate to my waiters. I never tip them. So
I feel like there's a subtlety here I may be missing. Could you explain more as to why you prefer one?
I think there's like legal tax issues with there's a difference between the two. But yeah. So tell me more about ads if you could, like how. And I don't want to give away any like.
Well, this is all Odysee, right? So I'm not, as part of these changes since October 1st, I'm not involved in the day-to-day running. Right? So
now we got to get somebody from actually Odysee on to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah. So I talked to the CEO, who's Julian Chandra. I talked to him on a fairly regular basis, and so of course we talk about what's going on and so on. But like he's the one, he and other people there are the ones doing this. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right.
I know the intent is to, basically have it always be optional. And from the library end, I can talk about it from the library end, where like what we see is creators being able to specify rules about how their content is distributed. And so you may want to say as a creator, well, I want my content to always be free, and you're not even allowed to run ads on it. And that's something you can say. As a creator, you may say, well, I don't care if you monetize my content, but if you do, you better pay me 70% of what you're making, right? Or a creator may say, I require 50-cent payment, every time this is distributed. And I don't care how you get it. The user can pay me, or you can find an ad partner. So that from the library side, that's our intent, is to allow creators to kind of declare the rules that they want to apply to what they create.
All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acres Seeds. AgoristAcres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like you're actually creating a market, for the content.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're giving full and complete control or consent to the content creator. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So unless you had anything else, Brandon,
I wanted to ask about
Go ahead.
the any updates on the SEC issue or the SEC.
Perfect. That's what I was going to ask.
They continue to suck. So the SEC,
as usual.
If you're listening, SEC, you stink. They probably they do go through quite a decent amount of what I put out and say. So it's not beyond possible that they hear that. So I try to get it in anytime someone brings it up, just that way, as they go through all my stuff, they at least have to hear that repeatedly. But part of the way that they suck is they are incredibly slow, and their strategy here is to purposefully be slow, because they don't want to go to trial. They don't want to have to answer questions. That their strategy for 4 years has been to never answer any questions about what's legal and not legal around blockchain tokens. I mean, I was not a fan of the government before this, but they are evil people. I mean, they are not trying. They're not like good people that are misguided. I think there are people in government who are good people who are misguided. And these particular individuals that are on our case, I mean, they are evil. And their thought process is, we don't care about what LBRY was trying to do. We don't care about the fact that the laws are completely unclear. We're not interested in making the laws clear. We are interested in getting these guys by any means possible. And they behave like the mafia. But right now, the SEC is scared to have to answer questions, because if they have to answer questions, it might turn out that there are rules that companies could actually follow to operate legally. And the SEC right now wants it all to be illegal. And so if they had to answer questions, that could ruin that for them. So they've been purposely trying to make the case go as slow as possible.
They're they can be a real bear to deal with, from what I'm to understand, with just things. So what I'm understanding, what happened is they have a gripe that you guys didn't file a letter of, I don't know, intent or register or something, just something like you can't just do with your token what you want. It's it's not a matter of like registering in the sense that we just had to tell them that we're doing something. If I'm not, I've been trying to dot my I's and cross my T's and follow the law. I haven't been trying to push the envelope. The SEC stance is that it's not legal to run a blockchain company, is basically the SEC stance. The SEC says Ethereum is illegal. Right. The only one they've said is legal is Bitcoin. And even there, I think it's a case of sour grapes. And by that, I mean, it's impossible to catch these guys, so they act like they don't want to. But where was I going? The registration, what does it mean? It's not like just filing out a form saying that you're doing this. It means that your token, after you register it, is a security. And so here's an example of what that would mean. It would mean that you can't code a piece of software that uses the LBRY token, because you are not a registered broker dealer. You're not, you as a software creator would have to get licensed. It's not an easy process to get licensed. So you've moved out of the space from like, hey, anyone can hack on this, anyone can code with it, to something that the only way you can even make software that touches the LBRY token is to go through a highly regulated process. And so that's what we've been trying to resist, is we want the people to be as free as they can be to exchange the token. Yeah, definitely, man. And I feel like a lot of times they like keeping shit sort of out in the gray area like that. You see this a lot with like gun laws and stuff too, where it's like, well, they don't really want to take it to court because they don't want to lose and have a precedent, right? But if they can keep it in this gray area, they can keep a lot of people scared enough to not try to dip their toe in the water of that industry too. So I definitely think they get some benefit out of it, as opposed to actually trying to, like you said, actually make a set rule.
Precisely.
Cool. Was there anything else that you had for Jeremy today, Brandon?
No, just a give gift button, or
just a phrasing, so I don't have to report it on taxes.
Exactly.
I'll pass the word on along on that one.
Gift button. Yeah, gift.
Man, if anybody doesn't follow Jeremy on Twitter, I knew we were having you on today, and I've heard you on several podcasts before, and obviously very cool dude. But yeah, I saw you going off about the deterrence dispense thing and really promoting the hell out of them, and I was like, fuck yeah, this dude's based, man. That's excellent.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, I'm pretty libertarian on Twitter. I mean, it's something I care a lot about. It's also fun. I like, Twitter's a good medium for me. I like kind of like short verbal type stuff. But yeah, I mean, I want to win. There's the world. I'm very frustrated with the way that the world is headed. I mean, people want to have their live in this very authoritarian way, and I actually don't even want to take that away from them. I just want a space where I don't have to live that way. So you'll see a lot of that in my Twitter feed, and I'm always trying to, boost and share and also troll the right kind of people. So,
well, you're helping us build these like parallel systems, dude. So you're, you're doing the Lord's work, so to speak, for sure, because that's what it takes. Because like you said, man, if people want a ruler, like, fine. Like, I mean, I'm coming to the point where I think like psychologically, a lot of people just don't want to be free. They don't. And hey, what the fuck ever. But let us do our thing. That's all I want.
If you don't want to be free, or if you want to be a slave, then that's what you want, and I'm not here to stop you. But yeah, I want freedom in my. I want the right to choose. I want freedom in my life. I don't want to be controlled or told what to do. And yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys, that's a great position to have. That's actually like the number one thing I generally try to convince other libertarians or people adjacent to libertarian. I don't know how you guys like to label yourselves or whatever, but like that's, I think, the most important thing is that a lot of people want what you don't like. And so I think some libertarians make the mistake of like trying to argue these people and like, oh, that their position is wrong, that their position is immoral or whatever. And I think you're better off being like, well, like, look, I'm not interested in persuading you that my positions are somehow correct. What I'm interested in persuading you is that I have them, that I'm a real person, and that it's a large earth, and I ought to be able to live in accordance with them, because I'm not trying to jeopardize things for you. I don't want to take away what you want. I just want a space to be able to live how I want. And I find that even, a communist is receptive to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, most reasonable people, no matter what it's like you explain the non-aggression principle, for instance, to like even most statists, and they're like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, that makes total sense. They just don't realize, that they violated, by all, shit they do. But yeah, I mean, so most people will just want to, at least they claim to want to live and let live, but as we see, it's not always the case. So
yeah, I don't want to force freedom on you. Now I will, and I do, like Agorist Nexus does have articles going into like some of the more moral arguments, because we are, we've got a lot of philosophers on our website, but yeah, we ultimately we don't even want to force freedom on you, right? But we'll argue like morality and stuff like that. But being agorist as we are, but yeah. Dag, was there anything else you wanted to go into?
I just want to say big fat thank you to Jeremy once again for taking the time to be here, man. I know you're really busy, and we sure do appreciate both you coming on the show and just all the great work you do, with LBRY. So thank you very much.
Thanks. It was great to be on. Cheers.
Yeah, man. And I want to say thank you too. I've been a huge disciple of Odysee. I mean, or actually LBRY. I've got it up on Agorist Nexus everywhere. I've got, I tell everybody about it because I love the platform. So yeah, thank you for your service for sure.
Awesome. And that's how we win. I will say to anyone listening, like spreading the word peer to peer, like that's how we win. We never did, big ad buys or stuff like that. It's all about people telling other people. So if you've discovered it and you like it, let some other people know. That's how we're going to win.
So yeah, definitely click our affiliate link down below for sure. Now we usually end off on a quote, but we kind of ask our guests if they have a quote, because every time we ask them too, they usually come up with a really good one. So if you have a quote offhand, or if there was anything else you wanted to plug or say, Mr. Kauffman, go ahead.
Oh man, I should have a quote offhand. I don't. I will say, all right, I'll plug, just as I haven't mentioned it yet. I live in New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. I got to go on the Tim Pool show recently, and it's probably like really narcissistic to quote yourself. I'm not trying to be a narcissist, but I said to Tim that, like, you should try to get a cabal. It's really nice to have a cabal, and if you don't have one, like, you should get one, because it's sweet to be a part of one. And that's sort of what I like about living in New Hampshire. There are thousands of people. We might have more than 10,000 people here, although I don't know that many, that are really committed to libertarian values. And that means that you've got a really big network of people, to fall back on. And like, COVID happened here, and it was, I think it was less bad for me personally than just about anywhere in the country, because I had all these people who feel the same way. There are a lot of agorists up here. We have we call market days. They're in every different region of the state, at least once a month, where people meet up and swap goods and trade things and use crypto, and all of it done in a way that's not particularly legible to the government. And so it's a really cool thing. And so I definitely support agorism and that approach. But even if you're an agorist, it helps to be around more other people who are agorists. And so if you're an agorist, consider checking out New Hampshire and what we're doing up here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to find the markets for sure. So, yeah. Let me see if I can find a quote here real quick.
I got one if you want.
Oh yeah, shoot, go.
All right. So this is a Heinlein quote. This is from A Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Excellent book. I am free no matter what rules surround me. If I find them tolerable, I tolerate them. If I find them too obnoxious, I break them. I am free because I know that I alone am morally responsible for everything I do. And that was Professor Bernardo de la Paz in The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Of course, Nexus out.
Peace.